Funeral Home this morning, and Clarence is going to tell us a little bit the story of Hill Funeral Home and maybe some of his childhood facts and maybe some miscellaneous stuff about Grand Blanc that none of us have ever heard before. So with that, go ahead.
Well, we're talking about ancient history here. I was born in Oklahoma. My father was a carpenter, a builder of homes. He built houses. And this is back in 1914. My father became ill and he had to give up his business. And he moved home. My mother and father split up at that time, and I went with my father up to Illinois and lived on a farm with his father. And I was there until through the 8th grade, and my mother, who had gone up north and got a job in the factories, came down and picked me up and brought me to Flint. So we lived in Burton for, through my high school. I went to Bendel School, and we moved to Grand Blanc and bought a big house down south side of town. It's, if you're not familiar with it, it's right at the end of Holly Road on the east side next to the McDonald's. So we were living there, and my father died. The insurance man was out of the house helping her with insurance, and I was complaining about my job. I was working at the Chevrolet, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, $25, and I guess that was a pretty good time. I had money at the time, but it was a very monotonous job. So I was complaining to him, and he said, well, how about being a funeral director? Who wants to be a funeral director? But as the weeks went by, I thought maybe it wasn't too bad, so I began looking for a job, and I ended up serving my apprenticeship in Flint. And after I got my license, I worked in Dearborn and Royal Oak. And Louise and I met her when I was living in Flint, and so we were married in 1940 and lived in Royal Oak for 4 years. And at that time, there was a funeral home in this building, owned by Charles Sibley, and he was going to move up north, so it was for sale. So we purchased the building and opened up a funeral home here in September of 19. We opened up September of 1944. So we've been here ever since. This home was. Let's see who had built this. I don't recall who built the house now, but we purchased it and did a little renovating, and 10 years later we changed the front of it, put the pillars out there, and built on the side of it, and did a very good business. We run an ambulance business, and one interesting thing that we did that you don't think about, it was private telephone originally, and Bell Telephone bought the telephone service. And the telephone operators had always taken the fire calls. They just picked their phone and you had an operator on the line. But Bell Telephone would go for that, so they had to get someone to watch the telephone 24 hours a day. And we looked like likely suspects, so we ended up with the job of answering the fire phone. And occupation for 25 or 30 years until the fire department became organized here and they got someone full-time. But we were firemen, you might say, because every time there was a fire, we knew about it before anyone else did. Oh, in the meantime, we restructured this house and built a lot of extra rooms in it, and that's the way it is today. If you want to take a look around, I'll show you some pictures of it.
Have your hearse changed very much over the years? or-
Hearse?
Yeah.
Well, we sure one thing, back in those days, we ran ambulance, of course, and we had one car, which was ambulance or hearse. It took the lights off of the ambulance and it became a hearse. So for many years, we had just the one car, and that was a combination ambulance or hearse, whichever way you wanted it. Of course, I got out of the ambulance business a long time ago.
Was Bella Vista subdivision here, or was that,
No,
that was a farm at the time?
There were no subdivisions at all here when I started. The first building was just east of town, and then Indian Hill was one of the main branches that was built after I started.
Maybe talk a little bit about the some of your neighbors or other businesses around. The gas station's down the corner or something, but
I don't know. Blessings are one of the old businesses here. They started shortly after I did. Nelson, the cement company up on Center Road, they were here before I was. They were building cement blocks up there before I started the funeral home there. So many places have changed hands.
about the conquest and the gas station.
Well, Jeff owned the gas station there for many years, but then he's gone too. His son ran it for years, but it's changed hands.
Day Brothers.
The brothers was here for many, many years, but of course they're gone too.
And but that was a pretty good business at the time. I mean, that was the only place to
That
buy
was
stuff.
the only place. Well, there was a hardware started later up in Wakeville, but it didn't last very long.
And Little Joe's, how long has that been around?
Little Joe's is a long time. I don't know, it wasn't here. I don't think there was a bar here when we moved here. Yes, there was a bar. I don't know if it was Little Joe's or not, but there was a bar in that building. Because I recall we had a funeral that first or second winter I was here, and they had a snowstorm, and Evergreen Cemetery had no plows. They just shoveled things out by hand. And I was up to the bar, and I asked the guys to say, how about a bunch of volunteers to shovel off the driveway up at Evergreen Cemetery? And it worked.
How about your hobbies, your wood carving hobby? How'd you get into that, and how many birds have you carved?
Wood carving was is a good hobby of mine. I started whittling, and I used to give away a lot of birds. We had a movie club that I belonged to, and I know every couple of times a year we'd have a state meeting, and I'd give away 20 or 30 carvings at that time, just to sit on different tables. And someone asked me one time how many I'd carved, and I said, I don't know. I was thinking about, gosh, I ought to put a number on the dumb thing. So I went home and started with number 100, because I knew I had given away a lot more than that. And so through the years, I've always put a number on there. The one I'm working on right now is number 531 or 2.